Chloe, welcome to the podcast. It's a pleasure to
Thank
have you.
you.
Chloe Ballatore, aka Chloe with Love, is a relationship and communication expert and founder of Chloe's Consciousness Training, a graduate of Princeton University and Pat Allen's Want Institute. She teaches a program in behavioral changes based on proven psychological and scientific principles to help people change their lives and get the love they want. Over a decade ago, these same tools saved her own life, and she is now married for over 20 years. Chloe, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, well, let's dive right into it. First and
Okay.
foremost, tell me about what you studied in college, and if looking back, is this the kind of the job you thought you'd be doing?
That's a really good question. I studied history with a focus on women's studies and American studies, which I guess on the face of it doesn't sound like it would lend itself to being a relationship expert. However, I wrote my senior thesis on romance novels in of the 1920s. So you could kind of say that it's been there from the very beginning. And actually, in my 30s, even before I was mentored, even before I entered the Want Institute, I had begun writing an advice column called Ask a Guy and then Ask a Girl. So I wrote both, even though obviously I'm a woman. So I had been doing that and had been recruited by Match at a real like when they were just starting up. So um I didn't actually go to Match, but I had already been writing a lot about romance and relationships and dating. And then when I found this work, because I needed it in my own life, and then I found I was good at it, then everything just kind of snowballed from there. Because even before I formalized doing this, people were coming to me all the time for advice. So at a certain point, I had to be like, I had to monetize it because I'm like, I
Right.
can't be an advice giving machine for people.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, the best way to know that, if something works is when it works on yourself. Like gives you this
Hmm.
kind of like underlying sense of confidence. And what made you feel like, because like, here's the thing, everyone gives everyone relationship advice, and somehow we're so much better at giving other people advice than navigating our own personal lives. Now, there's a difference between someone giving advice and someone who understands the science behind it and turns it into a profession. What kind of, how did you feel that difference between the two?
Um, I think that, yeah, like you said, I think I always was a little predisposed to knowing about relationships and being interested in relationships. Um, Partly that's a result of being a survivor of child abuse.
Mm,
So one of the things that I really wanted to focus on in my profession was always preventing that cycle from starting up, right? From that to prevent that from happening. And the
right.
first step is obviously having a good relationship. Um
Yeah, it's like it makes so much more sense to be preemptive than reactive, right? Yeah, because once
yeah.
things fester up, it becomes kind of this like deathly toxic downhill spiral. And being able to see danger before you hit it, fix those initial conditions early on, can probably be all the difference. And tuning yourself to see those initial conditions is probably the secret to. I'm just assuming here it could be one of those like good precursors to having a good relationship is constantly spotting those initial
Yeah.
markers.
And the hard thing is that most people have had some degree of childhood trauma, and that inures you to certain things. So if you
Mm,
it's what we call scripting. So if you're used to, for example, an individual every time they get mad, punching a wall or throwing a glass or, you know, God forbid, punching you in the face. If that's something that you've become used to, you're not going to see it as a red flag. And so
mm,
ultimately, you have to really do your personal work and get to a point in your own life and your relationship with yourself that enables you to see more clearly because we're all kind of blind to our own blindnesses.
right. 100%. Interesting. Now, I wonder, so like what kind of cases do you take on? Is it like anybody? Is there like, hey, you don't need my help, you do need my help? Is this a long-term process? Is this something where you give like 4 or 5 sessions and you shake their hand and wish them farewell?
It totally varies. I have clients that I've had literally I still work with my client, my very, 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 very first client who I had like 13 years ago. Um, but we don't work all the time. I don't do standing appointments. It's all motivated by your questions. I work with men, I work with women, I work with couples, I work with teenagers, and everything's predicated by what you want because that's the easiest way to get to the heart of the matter is when you want something and there's an obstacle there, right?
Mm,
And so I always tell people, like, come to me with a question, come to me, tell me what you want. And then we work towards that. So it's all about understanding that and then understanding the dynamics of the situation that you're in and then how we can align ourselves to manifest what we want. Sometimes people are going things that aren't literally possible in a physical
right,
reality, right?
right,
Sometimes people are going like the 6'5" in finance. I think somebody broke it down like blue eyes, blonde hair, or
right. On
brown
that
hair,
song.
whatever. It's like there's like 0.07% or
It's not
something
even
very
that. It's
small.
that there's a lack of like self-awareness when your expectations are so out of bounds, like how you view yourself or how you like the values you hold towards yourself need to be somewhat equal to the values you expect from your partner. And if you want someone
Yeah.
who's making $20 million and who's this and that, I mean, if you're making $20 million and you're this and that, that makes sense. But yeah, I think it's all about setting like having like first like a good assessment of yourself is such an important precursor to
Yeah,
like what you
it's
expect from someone
important
else.
to realize that like you're not going to get everything.
Right.
So if what you want is a very wealthy person, then you might have to take a hit on something else. A lot of times I work with people who are like,
Mm,
yes, I want a wealthy partner, but he must spend every day with me. Well, he's probably at work. If his priority is making money,
exactly.
he's not going to be able to hang out with you every day. If what you want is someone who hangs out with you every day, then you're going to go for more of an artist or somebody who has a flexible schedule. And if you're lucky, maybe he'll get wealthy, but then he might be short or he might be ugly or he might be stupid. I mean, nobody's perfect. And
Right.
so you kind of have to pick your poison and realize that even if you have a checklist and you think very highly of yourself, um,
Yeah.
you
And
have to pick from who's out here.
yeah, and like we tend to apply logic to certain things that don't have a logical basis. Like you can have this checklist of exactly who you want, and you meet someone, and it's not about meeting that checklist. It's just about how you feel. In fact, we're often surprised by the people we tend to really like and appreciate spending time with, or people who we end up wanting to spend the rest of our life with, don't meet that theoretical checklist.
It's
Um,
so true. I'm so glad you said that because I think with dating apps where you have to literally make a checklist, it has become very anodyne, right? And kind of
right,
sanitized. It's like
right.
it
Right, it's
it's
like you're
kind of
trying to make
destroying dating.
it's kinda like it's the least it's the best attempt to filter through noise, right?
Mhm.
But unfortunately, you can be filtering important things, not noise. Yeah,
Yeah,
and sorry, I'm just saying it comes down to you can't apply logic to an emotion, right? It's how you feel. You can work backwards and be like, "I feel this way because of logical reasons," but that's always not really the case, right? So
yeah, you're 100% right. Like, you have a feeling or you don't have it, and
right,
there's really, like, no arguing that. Feelings exist. Now, whether you act on those feelings or not, that's your decision, that's your freedom. But
right.
feelings arise naturally, thoughts arise naturally, so you have to
Yeah.
decide what you're going to act on. I think you make such a good point about how we sit here and we think, "Oh, this is the perfect person for me," or "That's the perfect person for me," and I know in my own life my husband didn't check any of the boxes I had.
Yeah.
He was he didn't graduate college. He already had a family. He had 2 kids. He didn't have money, but I fell in love, and
I love
the
that.
rest is history. I wanted X, Y, and Z. I got a whole lot of A, B, and C, and I was happy, and no regrets. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it isn't love is the realm of magic, right? So it's not very logical. You can be attracted, even chemistry is like, you can be attracted to someone that you technically think is maybe ugly, but if you have the chemistry, who cares? It's on, you know?
Yeah. And I've come to learn it's about also sharing long-term goals because you're motivated, you're happy with each other, it feels good. Like a pretty face only goes so far, and it's about really seeing, even on a selfish level, it's about seeing how you can become the best version of yourself around that person. Let's just say you really aspire to build a really big company. You maybe want to date a girl who's not going to be constantly focused on like the emotional stuff of the day to day, and they kind of get the bigger picture and they understand you're going to be working really hard. Yeah, and then that makes you feel just more comfortable being around the person and being who you are. So yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, the best relationships are complementary with an E. So that means it's actually a lot of people think, oh, and you kind of approached this earlier. It's like, oh, well, I'm making a lot of money, so you should be making a lot of money. No, actually, that's not the
Yeah.
case. It's actually better if you have
Right.
strengths that your partner doesn't have and your partner has strengths that you don't have, because then you have a balanced relationship. Unfortunately, a lot of times when you have two very high achieving people, they enter into a competition. And
Yeah.
similarly, if you have two very emotional people, they'll enter into a competition for sympathy and for tears, right? Guilt. So the most successful, be it homosexual or heterosexual, are those that are balanced between this yin energy, which is technically the more feminine, and the yang energy, which is technically the more masculine.
Yeah.
Uh,
Sorry.
no,
You're 100%, you're 100% right on the point of like, the $20 million comment I made earlier. Yeah, what I meant more of, was that it's more of like just a sense of self-awareness of your strengths and own weaknesses. And I think that's a good, like, again, precursor to having good expectations with what you're looking for in someone else. Now, any litmus tests you have for people out there who are on the fence and don't know if they should pursue something, like any tips of advice? Because you mentioned, it's a problem when you go on dating apps and you set these superficial expectations and you filter based on them. Any tips of advice you'd give to someone to kind of approach that in a better manner?
well, yeah. Okay. So if you're single, I'll always assign you the 5 flirts, and these are in person flirts. So if you're on the dating app, fine. You can continue on or you can stop. A lot of people get really depressed by dating apps. So if they want to get off, they can get off. Um, but these are in person flirts. So 4 days a week, you're going to be flirting in the course of your day, whether you are going to the supermarket, whether you're walking your dog, whether you're going to Starbucks, whatever it is. If you see someone that catches your eye, that looks good to you, you're going to give them 5 seconds of eye contact and a smile at the same time. Flirting's all about the eye contact.
Yeah.
And if they respond to that with eye contact and a smile of a significant nature, not just like, but
Sometimes people are shy and they're
yeah.
interested.
If you get the feeling that they're interested, if you're the masculine energy, you can approach. If you're the feminine energy, you then make sure that person knows you're open to the approach.
Hmm.
So that is done again by responding with the eye contact and smile, or sometimes, especially if there's a repeated meeting and the person wants to break the ice, but it's not like happening. I had a client who was going to Whole Foods and seeing this guy every day. And they were sometimes chatting, but not much. And she just like wanted him to ask her out, obviously. And how could she communicate that? So we decided that she would have a little stumble in the parking lot and see if he came to her aid. And lo and behold, he did. And they went on a date. And they went on several dates, actually. She ended up dating him for several months. So it worked. So the key is kind of to make, if you're the woman and or the female energy, is to making sure that the masculine energy knows that you're open and vulnerable and available to his leadership. And often that means asking for help or being in a slightly compromised position. So that was one way we addressed it. Okay. But then one day a week, back to the 5 flirts, one day a week, you're going to plant yourself somewhere for 45 minutes, an hour, go alone. Even if you go with someone, separate because it's way easier to meet someone if you're alone. And then if you plant yourself, and especially if you start going to the same place. So, you can play with it a little. Like, I have a client who likes to go to the coffee shop across from the firehouse because there's a lot of firemen there and she likes firemen. I have another client that
Doesn't
likes
everyone?
right. Who likes hotel bars, that works for him. I have, so it could be the golf course. I have people learning to play golf to meet people, or pickleball is really big now. A lot of people meeting through pickleball. So whatever it is, but just go somewhere, plant yourself somewhere seated. And that gives you a chance that if you do have the eye contact and smile exchange with somebody, they can sit down with you. You can begin a conversation, whatever it is.
Hmm,
And he who speaks first is masculine. So if you want to be feminine energy, ladies and men, then you don't speak first.
got it. So, Chloe, define a successful relationship, as in what like a couple should aspire towards.
So there's usually 3 elements for a successful relationship. We talked a little bit about chemistry, which is kind of a gift from God, right? You have it or you don't have it. But there's not much you can do about chemistry, especially for men. For women, sometimes chemistry can build over time, but usually men know they're attracted or not within like the first 8 seconds or something.
Hmm,
The second is compatibility. Do you want the same things? And again, does somebody want to take the feminine and somebody want to take the masculine? It's not compatible if, like, I had a couple recently, they were both actors. So they both were kind of in the feminine energy because, you're creating, you're acting, it's very vulnerable, it's emotional. This is the realm of yin energy. Um, and so it wasn't a competition for control, but more for feelings. Well, I feel this way. Well, I feel this way, so they were not compatible. Sometimes somebody will try to change and like, okay, I'll take the masculine. But if it's not authentic, it can be really awkward.
hmm,
An alpha is actually someone who has a strong masculine and a strong feminine side, so they can flip flop a little bit more easily.
hmm,
And then the third element is communication, and that's what we can work on the most. That's what I help people with a lot, is conflict resolution. Because if you want peace in a relationship, you have to know how to solve the conflicts and how to diffuse conflicts. Most of the time when couples are fighting, it's the ancestors of the couple. A lot of times a couple will come to me and say, I don't even know what we're fighting about. I don't even know what it was about.
right.
And I think something like 70% of couple fights will never be resolved. So it becomes about the way you're fighting and whether or not you go below the belt, you go ballistic. I really try to help couples not say things that they don't mean in the heat of the moment.
Mhm. Very interesting. Very well said. Now, tell me about yourself, Chloe. So, um, what inspired you to turn a series of methods that worked for you into a profession?
Well, I really didn't want to do it. I was doing something else for a long time. I was a screenwriter and I still write for a long time. But what happened was I found that I was really good at it and it came very naturally to me. And like I think I said earlier, is like a lot of people, when I started this work, I started in a group. And so the other people in the group saw the work that I did. I had such a huge transformation in this women's group with Dr. Pat that they just naturally started asking me for help. And that's when I started to monetize it because I was like, otherwise I'm just reliving my childhood of being a doormat and helping people and not getting anything in return. So that was like really important to me. At the same time, I really didn't wanna do the marketing aspect of it and the whole I never had, like, an aspiration to have my own business or be a solopreneur or
Mm,
do any of that stuff. So, um, I just did it as a private service for a long time. And then
mm,
when COVID hit and there was such a shakeup in society and people were so lonely and they really needed this work, and I
right.
just felt compelled that it was time to take that next step and take it to a bigger audience. And so it kind of started a little bit before COVID that I decided to do it. But then I think because of COVID, it did accelerate it because I had a lot of demand at that time. Um, and yeah, and now I'm doing it and I'm just loving it. It's been like the most fulfilling work I've ever done,
Yeah.
and it's not exhausting for me.
It sounds truly fulfilling, like you're just constantly making people's lives better, and even to feel that change, to know that, like, people came in, like, wanting to kill each other, and then they come out with in a much happier place, should provide a huge sense of fulfillment, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Um,
It
now
really means a
mm,
lot.
yeah. So, you're on a first date. What are some cues you wanna look for to know if you're meant to be with one another?
Okay, so, one of the big things, is the eye contact, right? I said that already with the flirting. But other things are, looking at those 3 C's and, like, seeing if the compatibility lines up. For example, if you are on a date, Michael, and you wanna be in okay, I'll ask you, what do you want more? Your thoughts respected or your feelings cherished? Everybody wants both, but what's more
Thoughts
important to you?
thoughts respected, undoubtedly.
Okay. Okay. So thoughts respected, that's the masculine energy. So on the date, you're going to see, does this woman or man respect my thoughts? Are they listening? Are they polite? Did they say thank you for dinner? Um, right? So that's going to help you a lot. Do they fight with you? Some clients have come to me before and they'll say, "No, I do the kind of flirting where you just argue with everything they say." I said, "That's not flirting, that's being a pain in the ass." You know? Like,
Yeah,
what are you doing? So, you wanna look for, somebody who is in the feminine energy, obviously. Because men need to do good to feel good, and if you find someone who and this is, like, kind of operates on the subconscious or the unconscious level, but this is why a lot of, like, very high achieving women are often single because they treat the date kind of like a job interview, and so they start saying,
I do that as well.
I
Yeah.
graduated Princeton and I'm a doctor and I'm on the board of diplomat surgeons and I just came back from a conference in Geneva and
Oh,
that guys get too that's too intimidating. They're not interested. A masculine man doesn't care about what a woman's career is really or what they're bringing to the table. It's more about the chemistry, the compatibility, and the communication. And so a lot of times very high achieving women will start to compete with a guy and they just naturally will pull away from a woman like that. They might not even know why, right?
right,
But a lot of very masculine men, they don't want to have like competition. Like they want support. And
right,
so even
right.
if
We
you
tend
are
to
very high achieving, sometimes it's better not to lead with that.
right. We tend to impose that other people like or are interested in the things that we like and that we're interested in. Um, let's just say like she's really passionate about going to law school or becoming a doctor, and you're 100% right. Like if a guy likes a girl, he just likes her for who she is. It's not about the fact that she's got a high paying job. And it also can create a sense of intimidation because there are social norms that, he knows nothing about you. He's just meeting you. So he's going to impose those generic social norms. They might drift away fairly quickly, but at first it's like, okay, there's etiquette and there's things that I need to conform to. And the second he feels intimidated by the girl, yeah, it might, it's not even if he feels super intimidated. It just like, it's, even if it's not negative, it's certainly not positive, right? And in
Right.
order for a night to go well, it's got to be positive. So yeah, I completely understand that.
Yeah, like,
Yeah,
sometimes I'll talk to a guy and he'll be like, "I don't know, it just everything I said was a challenge," you
yeah,
know? She just I picked a restaurant, she complained, or whatever it is. So
right.
if so you
And then you're
again
like, I got to wake up to this every day. There's no way I can do it, right?
right, exactly. I mean, I have and, by the same token, like, I have, women coming to me saying, "He won't come to Brooklyn to meet me. Fuck him," like, "Forget it."
Yeah. But you have to look at like, okay, maybe he's a really serious worker and he's got a serious job, and you got to look at the you're looking at the cons on a
Well, you
system, and you might
have
want to
to
look at the
be able
benefits.
to give the
Maybe
man
he's makes a lot of
yeah,
money, and yeah,
that's the thing, is, like, I find a lot of times a woman and this is what I mean about, like, you have to pick somebody that's walking on the earth and something that's physically possible. You don't get to control a man and then have him also take care of you. That doesn't work.
right,
If you wanna control the date and you wanna be in the masculine, great, fine. Find a feminine guy that wants that too. But you don't get to complain about everything he's doing after you've given him the control. And
right,
similarly, like, the idea is you you can manipulate a man, but you must respect his thoughts. And you can control a woman, but you must cherish her feelings. And without that complementary action, then what you're doing is being a narcissist and taking the thoughts and the feelings at the same time. And that's what we want to avoid, even
right.
in a moment or chronically in
Yeah.
a relationship.
Chloe, I feel like I can talk to you for hours. I actually would love to do this again.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's been an honest pleasure talking to you, Chloe. How can people get in touch with you?
Oh, great. Well, the best way is through my website, which is chloe'sconsciousnesstraining.squarespace.com. But you can also just search me up, Chloe Ballatore with a B as in boy. I'm Chloe with Love on Instagram. I'm on TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, and yeah, all my links are on my website.
Great. Yeah, I have to hop onto another interview, but I would have loved to talk longer, and that's why I think we should reconnect because I think a lot of people want to hear what you have to say. You sound like you're full of wisdom, and it's like information that all of us can benefit from. So, yeah, thank you for your time and wisdom, Chloe.
You are so welcome. My pleasure.